Alright, now it's time for a nice, relaxing... Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, my name is Fukushigi, the informant.
Alright, I guess you're still surprised.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, welcome one and all to a little bit of a ditty that I like to call skills. We all know about them, we all love them, and unless you're running around absolutely naked, we all have at least one. Though if you are doing that in real life, that could be considered its own skill too. In Monster Hunter, the strongest skills are all very well known, the ones used to gain the most efficient power, the ones that are a part of every standard weapon build. Attack boost, crit boost, weakness exploit, these are all names we are extremely familiar with, but there are a number of skills either added in Monster Hunter Rise, or completely changed in Rise from how they worked in previous games, and of those skills, some of them have gone completely under the radar for a lot of people who would actually get a lot of use out of them. Take for a very light example, Hellfire Cloak. It may not be as strong in an average situation as just having more pure damage, but when paired with the right weapon full of movement silk binds, and maybe against a monster with particularly tough hit zones, this skill could really put in a lot of work towards getting the job done if you build towards it. But how should you even know which of these odd and unusual skills are worth truly even working into your builds? Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for my personal list of the top 5 most underrated and surprisingly good skills in Monster Hunter Rise. Starting off with
Number 5. Leap of Faith / Diversion.
Beginning with the niche of the niche, both of these skills are single rank skills that you can have on your build for the tiny cost of one level 1 decoration slot. And what they do can completely change the way that a hunt goes around you. Leap of Faith being the more unusual to use one, it gives you the ability to do your Superman dive, emergency evade, even when facing the monster, as opposed to normally only being able to do it when facing away from the monster. And it extends the distance and therefore iframes of the maneuver greatly as well. If you are ever struggling with a fight because you don't know the timings of the attacks and you're struggling to just straight up dodge, this is an interesting skill to pick to help you learn the attacks. And just in general, if your build happens to have any extra 1 slots, this is a fun one to stick in and play around with just to see if you like the playstyle of having it. I lumped this one together with Diversion for a couple of reasons on this list. One being that they are both single rank 1 slot deco skills, and the other being that they are both very strong in the right hands at the right time. However, Diversion is arguably quite a bit stronger, even if the people who would be using it are a bit more specific. Diversion gives you a higher chance of being targeted by the monster than any other players or even your buddies in solo hunts. I haven't quite had the time to get these specific numbers in Rise, but in Iceborne the equivalent skill made you have exactly double the chances of being targeted as someone without the skill, which, if unchanged, and from anecdotal experiences that I've had in the game so far, it seems about right, is a very big deal in Rise, even compared to other Monster Hunter games. Does your weapon have a parry attack or a counter attack or some kind of thing that you use regularly that requires the monster to hit you? If the answer is yes, you should almost definitely be running a diversion jewel in your set. This way you can make the monster attack you more, thus triggering these counters and parries more often. On top of this, in multiplayer, it can really lead to some crazy hunts. I've had one that was unfortunately off camera, where I did an Apex Rathian as a hammer with a diversion jewel in my set, joining onto 3 light bow gunners who happen to have suppressor mods. The suppressor mod gives you an innately lower chance of being targeted than an average hunter. So what essentially happened was 90% of the quest, the monster was attacking me by myself in melee range, the only melee user, and because it was only attacking me, I was able to have full uptime as well, while 3 bowgunners just railed on it from 20 feet away in complete and utter safety. So yeah, at least as my personal experiences with this skill have gone so far, I would label it criminally underrated for the cost of bringing it along with you based around the attacks that people have in Rise.
Number 4.
Ooh, a piece of candy. 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 Ooh, a piece of candy.
Free meal.
A little bit more difficult to slot in, but no less impactful on your long-term hunting experience, is a skill that many people may not have even thought about looking at in Monster Hunter Rise: free meal. In Monster Hunter World, this was a 1-rank skill that gave you a 25% chance to not consume an item when you consume it, which was alright, but then we got an armor set bonus in Iceborne that allowed us to reach 75% chance, and it was sort of insane. Now in Rise, we get a very beautiful middle ground on this skill. No armor set bonus required, purely 1-slot decorations, but now the skill is 3 ranks, with the 3rd rank resulting in not consuming an item 45% of the time, which is pretty notable. Imagine a world where you use nearly half as many consumables forever. That's not a dream, it's right in front of you. It's an option in arm's reach that you could be having if you want for the low cost of 3 level 1 decoration slots, which may have been a hefty price in base Monster Hunter Rise, but now in Update 2.0 and going into the future, I keep finding myself with tons of level 1 slots in need of filling on my sets, so why not consider free meal to potentially do the trick for you? Not only will it help you now in the middle of hunts because you won't have to restock so much, but it will let you stockpile loads of resources for the future.
Number 3.
You should scream at me or curse me or hit me.
I'm not gonna hit you.
Why not? You'll feel better. I'll feel better. And you know you want to. I can see it in your eyes.
Give me the bag.
Hit me.
Joey, give me the bag.
Hit me.
Joe, I'm not kidding.
Hit me.
No.
Hit me. Hit me. Hit me. Hit me.
Counter-Strike.
Now this is a skill I imagine everyone here has at least looked at, and the translation is a little bit rough for what it actually does, so you may have just moved on and stopped thinking about it, at least compared to the terminology that we use as players. Counter-Strike gives you an attack bonus for 30 seconds after you get knocked back by an attack, though the word attack is quite loose here, as even a small barrel bomb will do the trick, but essentially anything the game considers as some sort of a negative combat state knockback against your character will trigger this. So no, nothing like hyper armoring through an attack, that won't do it. Dodging through things won't do it. Parrying won't trigger. Guarding with a shield, that won't do it. Only full on having your character knocked off of their feet by something that could potentially damage them. But the thing is, 25 raw is a hefty amount of raw. And let's all be honest here, as hunters, we get hit a lot. Unless you are using a straight up turtle lance build or something like that, the way that you take damage will most often trigger the skill to activate. And whether the skill is good for you or not requires a lot of self-reflection and acceptance, because it requires the honest answer to one question: how often do you get hit by the monster that you're fighting? If it is anywhere close to once every 30 seconds, then this skill is basically just 25 attack that is always active for you. The value obviously goes down the less often you get hit, but I wanted to mention that this skill not only exists, but is incredible for the average player, even if we don't want to admit to ourselves how often we are actually hit by attacks. And as a little bonus tip for this one, the first rank of this skill by itself is 10 attack boost on activation, which is an incredible return for 1 rank of the skill. So if you find yourself just with a single remaining open 2 slot on your build, 1 rank of Counter-Strike is definitely a good option to consider.
Number 2.
Son of a bitch, Paul, why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
WIREBUG Whisperer.
Now this one is a lot more interesting to me and the way that I play personally, partially because I get bored very easily by straight up attack buffs. Yes, doing more damage is fun, but I already know how to do lots of damage. I want to know how to change the entire playstyle of the game. One of the best ways to do this is bringing along full WIREBUG Whisperer, the skill, as this really messes with the flow of fights in Monster Hunter Rise in an incredible way. This skill works absolutely best for weapons that have good silk binds. The better your silk binds are, the better this skill is. Personally, I love running it on things like Charge Blade and Dual Blades to make their counter-attack silk binds be available as often as possible. But my favorite weapon for this skill so far is by far the hammer, with its multiple meaty and powerful silk binds that are usable in almost every situation. The first rank of this skill lets you keep your bonus 3rd WIREBUG longer, which are the extra ones that you find around the map. Having an extra WIREBUG changes the pace of fights in this game, so having an extra WIREBUG for a longer time messes with the pace for even longer. The second rank of the skill reduces the cooldown on WIREBUGs that are used for Wirefall, which is great as bugs used for Wirefall usually take a fair bit of time to come back, and Wirefall is really good. And then the third rank just makes your WIREBUG gauge return rate 20% faster while you are on the ground, which really messes with some weapon combos in ways that I love, evidenced by the hammer that I've already mentioned. Full WIREBUG Whisperer allows it to enter a gameplay style that is almost 100% fueled by Silkbind attacks, just because of the way that it changes the cooldowns of these attacks. So mess around with it for yourself, with your weapon, because there are definitely some fantastic uses of this skill out there.
Number 1. Evade Extender.
And a lot of you may have heard of this change already, but this one absolutely had to be number 1 for me because of the people who may not have heard about it. And that's the new range of Evade Extender. Because holy hell, this skill got a buff in Monster Hunter Rise. Now, Evade Extender level 1 is so good and strong that being able to stick it in just an average normal set is something I'd say you should totally consider for most weapons in the game. Anything with even remotely lowered mobility compared to the average should see how it feels playing with a rank of Evade Extender. See if you like it, because you might just never change back for the rest of the game. This difference becomes incredibly noticeable, however, at the full 3 ranks of Evade Extender, where you essentially are faster rolling in a straight line than most hunters are running in a straight line. This skill and how effective it is in Rise can completely shift the way that you fight. Rather than needing to sheathe or slowly reposition in between things, once you learn the distance of these rolls, you can just continue the attack on the monster endlessly and relentlessly, like a beautiful, evasive dance of death. If you haven't checked out the new version of this skill, absolutely stop and do so at your nearest convenience. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been my list of the top 5 most underrated and surprisingly good skills in Monster Hunter Rise. How do you feel about all of the skills that I've talked about today? Do you have any skills that you want to mention that I didn't bring up? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.